Hey everybody, it says I am live. All right, let's check on a couple of things here and make sure that that's the case. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, my camera's a little out of whack here. All righty, I think we're good. All right. Hi, Podcast VA Association Cohort 1. I'm so happy to see you this evening. I hope you're having a really great evening. We have just a couple of things today, a little bit of housekeeping. And then we'll get to the Q&A section if there are any questions, if anyone's watching live. And then we will go through the client onboarding session. This will get pulled from this live recording and get put into the course as a bonus module. But I thought this was a really great way to get started with it tonight. So, housekeeping, let's start there. Many of you are keeping up on the course in real time. As modules drop, you're getting them done that same week, and that is fantastic. So the really exciting part about that is that when the assessment goes live next Monday, you will be in great shape to take the assessment. Now, there have been a few questions about the assessment and what the format is. And the format as of right now will be a quiz. You may have some little snippets of video to watch where Jen or I are doing a task, and we'll ask you something about what you would do next or what the best practice is or what a component of what we're doing is called. We will not be having you, and someone asked this earlier this week, someone asked if in the assessment we were actually going to have to create, if you all were actually going to have to create a podcast episode for one of us. That's not how we're going to do it. So no worries about that. It will just be a quiz and an assessment. Quiz type assessment, Once you are done with the assessment, you will have, Jen and I will get notified right away. We will send you your congratulations email with a little badge you can put on your website or add as a social media post or what have you that says that you are a certified podcast VA. We have a brand new logo that we're unveiling for the certification, so we're super excited to get that out there for you. And then we will also be sending you a PDF certificate and, as mentioned earlier, a paper certificate. We also, towards the end of next week, will be collecting your information to go into the podcast virtual assistant directory. So we will ask for some simple things there, and we'll talk more about this next week, but just start thinking about a couple of these things. And that is whether or not you have a photo you'd like to share. It's optional, but highly recommended. If you watched the Getting Clients module this week, you know that I always recommend you put as much information into your applications or portfolios or profiles as you can. This is no exception. If you have a photo that you're willing to use, we would love to have a photo, a short bio that maybe talks about any relevant experience you have in addition to taking this certification that would make you a good candidate to work with a podcaster. Your time zone and location, just which country you're in, so that people can get connected with people in similar time zones if that is important to them. The specific skills that you are wanting to help podcasters with. I know we've talked about this before, but you might prefer to focus on social media. You might not want anything to do with social media. So you can list all of those skills that you are interested in doing so that we can get you connected with the right podcaster. And then we will ask for contact information. Ideally, an email address is perfect. If you have a website, that's great, but not necessary. If you're US based and you care to share your phone number, you're welcome to do that. That is not required. The podcast VA directory, as of right now, will remain locked. It will be private so that that information is not out there publicly. However, we may open it up at some point to where people coming in can just see, some very basic information, maybe just your name, your specialty, and your photograph. And then when they pay to join as a podcaster, then they get full access. So we're playing with a few things to figure out how to make this both exciting for the podcasters, but also still protect your privacy if you want that privacy protected. Alrighty, so we'll be in touch with you later next week for more information about what to put into your directory listing. as a final reminder, we'd really appreciate it if you could update in Kajabi your first and last name, your contact information as a person, first and last name, not your email address, not your business name or anything like that. You as a person. Alrighty. I did not see any questions posted in the thread today, and the only one I got in the email was about the format of the assessment. So I'm going to go real quick and see if anybody's watching live. Does not look like it. So I don't think there will be any live questions today. So since there are no questions about the client getting module, I guess we'll get right into the onboarding content. I also want to congratulate one of our VAs who changed her LinkedIn profile. I should have probably done this first. Changed her LinkedIn bio last week to say that she's a virtual assistant. She was contacted almost immediately by someone in her network who was looking for a virtual assistant. And she's not working as a podcast virtual assistant, so we can't take credit for that. However, we were able to coach her through the client investigation part, the sales call, the contract, all of the things leading up to getting the client, and then also a little bit with the onboarding information. So we're really excited for her. I don't want to steal her thunder, so I'm not going to share her personal information here. I will get her permission before I do that, but she reached out to me again today to give me an update on how things are going, and it sounds like it's going really well. So super happy about that. Alrighty, onboarding. All right, so once you have your contract back from your client, you have 24 hours to wow them. You might think that your hard work is done, right? You've had a profile somewhere that they liked or an application that they liked. You've gotten on the discovery call and the sales call with them. They've decided to move forward into the contract. Now you've got sent a contract that they agree with and you have the contract back, and most likely you've already been paid your first invoice. You might think all the hard work is done. However, you're looking at this from the podcaster's point of view. They may be a little bit nervous about the money that they're investing to spend with you. They're going to be nervous about the time they're going to invest in training you. They might be a little uneasy about the whole process and whether or not they have made the right decision in hiring you. For them, this is an exciting but also a little scary time. This is where it's really, really helpful if you can show up as confidently as possible, take control of the situation from the beginning, and put their minds at ease that you are the right person for them. Now, for you, this is a chance to get all of the information you need from your client at one time in one place, so that you don't have to be sending multiple emails or texts or getting on multiple client meetings to get all of this information. It's also your chance to ask any additional final clarifying questions about the exact tasks you'll be doing. And truly, it gives you the opportunity to kick off the relationship with your podcaster on the right foot. So with that said, there's two ways you can do the workflow for this, and it will be a little bit dependent on how you work. You may choose to, once you have the contract back, set up the onboarding call, have an initial, meet and greet. Let's dive in more in depth to some of the things that we're going to be doing type of a meeting. And then at that meeting or shortly after that meeting, you send them onboarding documentation to collect the important information that you need. That is really great for people who communicate better in verbally and really, want that intimate first connection rather than documentation to be the first thing. However, I really am a strong proponent of sending a welcome email once you get the contract back that includes a copy of your W-9, a copy or a link of your onboarding documentation, and a calendar link for your onboarding call, so that they can get all three of those things covered in one fell swoop. They can go through and do the onboarding documentation. They have your legal, and they can get that call scheduled with you all at one time. But like I said, the exact workflow of this process can differ based on what you're comfortable with and how you want to proceed with the client. During onboarding, you will want to collect all of the information you will need to complete the work your client is relying on you to do. So logins and passwords, brand colors and fonts, a summary of their business, in their own words what they're doing so you can get really comfortable with what they're doing. And for podcast clients, a description of their show, its genre, and who the ideal listener is. I will show you in the form. We collect a lot of information. I suggest collecting a lot of information, probably more than you might think you need, so that you can be as familiar with their business as possible. Now, what I often have done in the past with clients that works really, really well, and what I recommend you do, is you send them that welcome email that has all of the information. They can go ahead and schedule that onboarding call with you, but you request that you have the onboarding document back 24 to 48 hours in advance so that you have time to go through that document with all of their information. That gives you the opportunity to test login information, read through their business information, read through their podcast information, and again, go through the task list. Start making sure that things are working, getting familiar a little bit with the platforms that they're going to be having you use, taking a look at some of their existing content, and even starting to ask questions about things or at least write down questions that you will ask on the call about things you need clarification on. That way, as soon as you're off the onboarding call, you are ready to go and ready to get started. The onboarding call is also the time to ask for, the final clarification of the tasks you'll be doing and to work out a schedule for deliverables. And deliverables go both ways. There are things that the client will be responsible for delivering to you. For example, their podcast episode that you need to do all of the magic for to get it out into the world. You'll want to know how often they release episodes, whether they do a month's worth all at once, and you can expect that in 1 week you'll get 4 episodes, or whether they trickle them out week by week, how far in advance they're working, how far in advance they need the content from you that you are creating for that episode, and that sort of thing. You'll also then have to figure out how long from the time they get the deliverable to you, the podcast episode to you, you have to get your part of the process to them. So, for example, if they send you 4 podcast episodes on a Monday, how many days do you have to get the title graphics to them? And is it important that all 4 title graphics come in at once? Or can you work one at a time and get them one whole episode bundled up, packaged up, scheduled, and ready to go and move on to the second one? Those are things that you can negotiate with your podcaster to make it so that it works in the workflow they already have established, but also works with the rest of your clients and the rest of your business. You might not get every detail worked out in the onboarding session, and that's okay, but you should ask for enough information and you should have enough clarity after you have the onboarding documentation and the onboarding call that you can get started doing some work for them. Your onboarding call is also the time to clarify channels of communication with your client and to schedule the next 1 or 2 meetings with them so that there's no question as to when you'll be in contact again. I have definitely used this time, or I've definitely been burned by not using this time. That's probably a better way to say this. Not using this time effectively, and thought that on the onboarding call, I had all of the information I needed from the client. We didn't have anything on the calendar scheduled for the next time. And suddenly it was the day they sent me all the information and I was starting to get to work and I had a million questions and they were out of town. And that did not go well. I wasn't able to complete that first week of work and that was kind of a scary thing. So definitely make sure you have channels of communication planned out after this meeting, during this first meeting as well. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to walk you through a sample client onboarding form. This will be available for you in the portal by the end of this week. I'm going to quick share it with Jen so that she has it as well. Alrighty, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, shoot. I'm using YouTube today. I don't know if I can share my screen with you in YouTube. Okay, well, hopefully you can pause the video here. If you're watching this in the course portal, you can pause here, download the form, have it in front of you, and I can walk you through it while you have it in front of you. I apologize. We will have to re-record this for when it actually gets uploaded to the portal. All right, so the client onboarding document. We ask first for the client's contact information. Again, their name and their podcast name and their website URL, all of that sort of important basic information. We ask for their preferred email address. And again, you may have their email address already, but we really like having all of this information in one place so that it's all ready to go. And then you also want to ask for their preferred channel of communication and their contact information on that platform. So it might just be email, it might be text, it might be Slack or Voxer or any one of the millions of messaging or conversation platforms out there, but you'll want to make sure that you have their contact information so that you can find them on that platform and you can get started having that conversation. You'll want to ask for links to all of their social media accounts just so that you can kind of keep a pulse on things that are going on in their world and so that you can know what other kinds of content they already have going out so yours can dovetail nicely with things they already have going on. You'll want password and login information for all of their main platforms. Now, on the form that I have created here, there's a place to put this for their social media accounts, their website, their email management platform, their Canva account if they have their own Canva Pro account and they want you to use that, and their podcast host. There may be other platforms that they are using, or they may not use all of these platforms. This form is flexible. Feel free to update it however you need. You're going to want the login link because that's not always as straightforward as you might think it is. You will want the username and the password. My recommendation is to store all of this information in this document or in something like a project management software like Asana. I have a card for each client that has all of their passwords in it on my Asana platform. Your podcaster and you should have already had this discussion about whether or not they're comfortable giving you passwords in writing or whether they want to share a LastPass account with you or whether you will be doing things like your Canva graphics in your own account. So definitely adjust this form as needed for each individual client. Then there are some questions in here about their brand or their podcast. So you will want a copy of their logo and any other graphics that they have. You will need official colors. You want the color codes, the hex codes for those. You will need to know if they have any official fonts or icons that they use. And you want to know if they have any graphics templates. Now, they can cut and paste these into your Word doc. They can attach them to your Word doc. They can attach them and send them to you in an email. They can upload them to a shared Google folder or whatever, cloud service that you have. Or if you're using something like Asana, they can upload it directly to Asana. And you will both be able to see all of the assets on the board and download them as needed from there. Let's see. Then you'll ask some questions about their brand voice. And the biggest reason we ask for these questions is because that helps you jump in as quickly as possible to creating this content and helping do some of the tasks on their behalf. The more information they're able to give you right from the beginning, the better for you. So the questions I have on here already are, tell me about your podcast and what type of content does it have? Who's your ideal listener? Again, you can go back and watch the pre-training module on ideal listener if you are struggling to remember what that is, or in case your podcaster has questions about it. I always ask my clients, what do you love about what you do? It seems completely irrelevant to anything that they're talking about or any work that you're having do for them. But I find that it gives me insight into how I can best communicate and work for them if I know what's important to them. If their podcast is part of a business, then they are really looking for things like clients and money. But if their podcast is more of an outreach or a fun passion project for them, it might be more important for them, not that they're bringing in clients or bringing in money, but just that they're having fun, they're inspiring their audience. That helps me, create the right content and directs everything I do when working with my clients. I always ask if there are any businesses or podcasts that they've already partnered with. A huge value add thing that you can do for your podcaster and really for any clients is try to keep your eyes open for any ways that they can grow their audience or grow their listenership. So if you listen to podcasts and you come across one that might be a good fit for your client, you can recommend that to them or potentially even reach out to that other podcast for them. But if you know who they're already partnered with or who they're already collaborating with on social media or what have you, you can more intentionally look for those things as you're just going about your normal daily business. And then I always ask, is there anything else we should know or any other concerns or questions you have about getting started working with me? So those are the important pieces of information that I like to have from every client when I get started. I then tailor these forms, and I recommend you tailor these forms based on the conversations you've had with your clients on the sales call, the information that they've relayed to you that they're already looking for help with, and then on that on that onboarding call, you can really finesse and finalize this information and get as much of it as possible. And you may change these questions depending on the tasks you are doing. If, for example, you're not creating any social media graphics for them, you may not need the brand colors and the logos and that sort of thing to just work on workflows and guest welcome process and sending emails and that sort of thing. You may not need website administration access if you're not doing anything with their website. But this is a good place to get started with most of your clients, and then you can continue to tweak from there. As always, if you have questions about anything in this video or this module, drop them into the comments below or send an email to Jen or to myself or reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook. We are happy to chat about any of these things with you or answer questions. I would encourage you to get into the podcast VA community as much as possible to start building your connections in there, meeting with other podcast virtual assistants. As they're getting hired by podcasters, they may have references for you. So it's a really great place to go to grow your business. And you might find someone who does tasks that complement the ones you do. Maybe you want to really focus on social media and they really want to focus on the administrative tasks. You could work together to do those things together for more clients. So lots of different ways you can utilize and lots of different reasons you should be utilizing that community that we are building in there. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to pop back into the community real quick and see if there is anyone who's left any live questions. I don't see anything. So I think we will wrap it up there. The onboarding document I will link to directly in the comments from this video while this video is in the community, and then it will get uploaded into the portal as well. So as always, have any questions? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're so excited to get you guys certified next week and help you get connected with clients. We have some really amazing podcasters who are so excited to start working with their VAs. And then, of course, we will be going to Podcast Movement in 3 weeks to work on building out our database even more fully. Our goal is 250 podcasters in that database by the end of the year. So we are well on our way. All right. I will talk to you all later. Bye.